Great, it's live. Thank you.
It's good.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Dr. Lena Wen, and I'd like to begin today by thanking Congressman Cummings for organizing this forum on childhood trauma, and also for your incredible leadership representing Baltimore and leading in the United States Congress. Thank you also to our elected officials, panelists, and audience members for joining us for this important conversation. And in particular, I'd like to thank Senator Van Hollen, Congressman Sarbanes, Mayor Jack Young, and I see in the audience too that we have Council President Scott, Councilman Cohen, and perhaps others that I have neglected in the introduction, but I want to thank all of you, and also to thank our host at Humanum for your work to support economic opportunity for Baltimore. The research, thank you, the research on childhood trauma that we're here to discuss is actually clear, because decades of scientific studies have found that childhood trauma significantly increases the lifelong risk of negative health outcomes, from depression and suicide to also higher rates of high blood pressure and diabetes. Trauma can be caused by many events, often referred to as adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. And that includes being the victim of abuse and neglect, loss of a parent, experiencing violence, and challenging home situations such as substance use and financial stress. As a physician, I have seen the effects of these traumatic events and how they create toxic stress that interferes with brain development and impairs physiological systems. And as the former health commissioner here in Baltimore, I know that far too many of our city's children are experiencing these traumatic events. And many children are experiencing multiple events at the same time, and often at devastatingly young ages. The effects of traumatic experiences can be lifelong and even multi-generational. However, we also know that there are things we can do to promote healing, to encourage resilience, and to treat and critically to prevent childhood trauma. And that's why we're here today. Our forum, convened by Congressman Cummings, will accomplish three objectives. First, we will delve into the science and examine the evidence of the critical components of environments that help children thrive. And that includes the importance of treating the entire family, and in fact, all the caring adults in that child's life, and what policies we must have to best support children and families. Second, we will hear about the inspiring work already being done here in Baltimore City, by the state government, by nonprofit organizations, and academic institutions. And we'll hear our leaders discuss their innovative programs like supporting expecting mothers, improving the school climate, addressing community mental health, and helping families facing trauma. And third, our panelists will discuss what more can be done, how we can collectively work to strengthen current initiatives, and how these programs are a roadmap of what we, as a community and as a country, must move forward to address this urgent public health crisis of childhood trauma. The evidence is there. We know what works. Now we must each do our part to improve the health and lives of our children and for generations to come. So to kick us off, I am honored to welcome our convener today, someone who is a hero to me and to all of us here in Baltimore and to millions around the country, the representative of Maryland's 7th District and the chair of the House Oversight and Reform Committee, our very own Congressman Elijah Cummings.
Never forget it. Before I briefly discuss the urgent issue of childhood trauma, there are many, many people I just have to thank. I want to thank Dr. Wynn for monitoring today's event and for your tenacious defense of the right of every American to access health care. I thank my colleagues in the Maryland delegation, Senator Matt Holland, Congressman Sarbanes for joining us. I thank our mayor, who's been tireless with regard to this issue and trying to address it in every way he knows how. I also want to thank all of our city leadership here today, including members of the city council representatives in Annapolis, and so many civic leaders who are working at every level to strengthen our community. And I thank all of our panelists for your willingness to share your expertise and your experiences. Finally, I have to thank Humana for the work they do every day to make Baltimore a better place to live. I also thank you so much for everything you do to make our city the very best that it can be. I recently introduced the CARE Act with Senator Elizabeth Warren to improve our nation's response to the drug crisis. The CARE Act would provide stable, long-term funding to enable hard-hit communities to respond to their specific challenges. It would also tear down barriers that still prevent too many people with the disease of substance abuse use disorder from accessing evidence-based care. I'm pleased that this bill has been endorsed by more than 200 organizations, including the American Medical Association, and has been co-sponsored by more than 100 members of the House of Representatives, including all of the Democratic members of the Maryland delegation. But if we want to truly help our communities, we must do more than just improve our treatment programs. We need to look upstream at the causes and expand our focus on prevention. Last month, I convened a hearing in the Committee on Oversight and Reform, which I chair, to examine one of those root causes, childhood trauma. The science is quite clear. Traumatic experiences in an injured and developing brains of children create lifelong impairments to their ability to manage stress and regulate emotions, and significantly increase the likelihood of negative health outcomes and even death. And in our city, we have so many children that go through childhood trauma. Look at Joe Jones over there. And he knows that a lot of the work he does started when children had trauma. And then they grow up and have even more problems. However, trauma can be prevented. The effects of traumatic experiences can be identified. And children who have experienced trauma can become thriving adults. During our congressional hearing, we heard from incredible people who turned the unbearable pain they experienced into a passion to help others. In other words, they took the pain, turned it into a passion to do their purpose. We also heard from experts and government officials about the pervasiveness of trauma and about the support and services that can help prevent negative health outcomes. I want to thank William Philbrook, who is in the audience today. William, Mr. Philbrook. There you go. I want to thank him for his participation in that congressional hearing. I also want to thank Dr. Bethel, one of today's panelists, for testifying at that hearing. According to new data produced by Dr. Bethel, almost half of Baltimore City children, listen up, almost half of Baltimore City children experience one ACE, and nearly 30% experience two ACEs. Experiencing trauma can affect our children's ability to focus and succeed in school, and steal time and attention they could be focused on reaching their dreams, and they never reach their destinies. So often, their destiny is locked up and they can't stay with it. And such trauma tears apart families and communities, and people don't even know why. So I'm pleased to be joined today by my federal, state, city leaders, and I want to thank all of them for realizing that this is a very big problem that we have to tackle. Experts, service providers, and trauma survivors who are working to make our city stronger and safer for our children and generations yet unborn. I'm excited to hear about the great work being done here. I want to know how we at the federal level can advance this work. I also want to know what the gaps are that allow too many children to fall through the safety net, and what we must do to reach these children. Finally, I often say that our children are the living messengers we send to a future we will never see. Sadly, what is happening today, and we see it quite often, is that parents are sent to a future that the children will never see. Every day, I wake up with one goal, just one, to work to make sure that our children and generations yet unborn will reach their God-given potential, and that the future we are creating is a brighter one for every child. I appreciate that, all the work that everybody is doing. And again, I want to thank Dr. Wynn. Dr. Wynn, I want to thank you for all your service while you were our health commissioner. You're back in the neighborhood now, and I'm so glad you're back. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Cummings, for your words and for convening us for this critically important topic today. Now, I understand that many of our elected officials are on tight schedules, and I want to introduce another great champion for families and communities, Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you. Thank you, and Dr. Wynn, I want to thank you, join now with my friend and colleague, Elijah Cummings, and welcome you back, and thank you for your leadership. And I want to thank our terrific congressman and leader here in Baltimore City and Maryland, Elijah Cummings, for all the work that he has done at the federal level and here in Baltimore throughout his congressional district. This is a great city. We know we have our challenges, but if you look around the room today, we also know we have the determination and capacity to address our challenges. And I just want to say how proud I am to work with Elijah Cummings for the city and the state of Maryland. So Elijah, we salute you for your leadership. Thank you for convening us here today on a really important and urgent public health matter, which is addressing childhood trauma and the consequences of childhood trauma. Congressman Cummings, in his capacity as chairman of the Oversight Committee, held a hearing not that long ago on this urgent issue, and today we gathered here in Baltimore City to discuss how we can best address it, both through prevention, but also mitigation and intervention. And we do need an all-hands-on-deck approach, and we need a comprehensive approach from people who are addressing these issues in all different capacities, and it's good to see this panel that represents a whole range of experiences focusing on this issue. And I'm pleased to be here with my colleague, John Sarbanes, and of course, the mayor, the city council president, and members of the council, and all of you in this room who recognize that we've got to come together and unite to join this issue and address this issue. Nationally, there are nearly 35 million children who have experienced at least one traumatic experience. And as you heard from Congressman Cummings and Dr. Wynn, half of the children in Baltimore City have experienced at least one traumatic event. And in fact, 2/3 nationally have also been exposed to some form of violence. And we know from all the data and from our own experiences that children who experience these traumatic events, whether it be homelessness, discrimination, severe food or income insecurity, and many other forms of trauma, are more likely to experience harmful health and other consequences later in their lives. In fact, Dr. Wynn referenced studies. There was a landmark study done more than 20 years ago by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention that looked at the impact of what has been referred to as adverse childhood experiences, and found a very direct correlation between childhood trauma, adverse childhood experiences, and harmful health effects later in life. Harmful effects on physical health, on mental health, much higher risk of people engaging in substance use disorder and other risky behaviors. In fact, the study showed that individuals who were exposed to severe trauma, 6 or more adverse events, had on average a 20-year lower life expectancy. So people who are exposed to multiple severe trauma, the health effects are incredibly harmful. Another study showed that children who had been exposed to 4 or more adverse childhood experiences are 10 times more likely to use drugs and 12 times more likely to commit suicide. The bottom line is that we have to make this an urgent health priority. And the good news is we can do that through 2 strategies. One, of course, is prevention, doing everything we can to reduce childhood trauma and the experiences that give trauma. The second is to develop a strategy to help mitigate the trauma that children experience. And study shows that if you have a strategy for addressing childhood trauma, you're much more likely to reduce those adverse consequences later in life. I'm pleased with some of the steps that have been taken at the federal level. We passed in 2018 a bipartisan bill to the opioid response, which established a federal task force to look into and develop strategies for dealing with trauma, as well as providing $50 million in grants to early childhood education centers, Head Start centers, and others specifically to address this issue. But we all know we've got to do a lot more. I'm proud to be one of the Senate co-sponsors of the CARE Act that Congressman Cummings has introduced. And there are many other measures that we have to take, and that's why this forum is important. I look forward to getting a full report on strategies and recommendations that come out of this forum. I apologize, I have to go to a graduation ceremony for a student job summer program to try and make sure that our young people get opportunities over the summer. So I apologize for having to leave, but look forward to hearing the results from my team over here in the room. And just again, thank all of you. And Elijah, thank you. All right.
Thank you very much, Senator Van Hollen. And now I am so glad to have the opportunity to introduce a tremendously dedicated public servant who we are proud to call our mayor, Mayor Jeff Young.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all of the panelists for being here, Commissioner Harrison, Dr. Sarasa, our CEO, Dr. Santanisas, and Tisha Evans, who was getting up the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success. Just recently, first of all, I want to thank the Congressman for convening this important event to talk about trauma of our young people and our families. Just before coming here, I was finishing up some letters from some young people. I went to a camp, and all they were talking about was gun violence and drugs and homelessness and how they feel so unsafe in the city of Baltimore. And they said this is not what they expect from us as elected leaders, and they want us to pass stronger gun laws. You read some of the letters. I mean, they were speaking from their hearts. So our children are facing a lot of trauma. Instead of us asking the question, what happened what's wrong with you, we should be asking what happened to you, so we can get to the root causes of why our children are so traumatized. This forum here is something that's long overdue. Congressman, thank you so much for pulling it together. And I created the Office of Children and Family Success so that we can make sure that our families are getting the proper resources that they need in order to become whole, so they can become a part of the fabric of the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland. And I'm very proud that Tisha Edwards is heading up that effort. She knows, she was over at the school headquarters, and she knows what our children are facing. And Dr. Sonia Santelisa's know it as well. So I'm looking forward to whatever we can do as city government, along with my partner, Council President Brandon Scott, who is here with us this morning. But our children are really hurting, and we need to do everything within our power to help heal our children. You know, we talk about trauma. Trauma affects them financially as well. So we should be looking at all kinds of resources to help our young people with summer and year-round employment. Because some of our children, the trauma they face is to pay rent, to put food on the table for their parents, and to make sure that their siblings are eating healthy. So Congressman, I just can't thank you enough for calling this together so that all of these expert people around the table, and you in the audience that are experts as well, to address this trauma and come up with some options on how we can address it. So I just want to thank you all. I can't stay either. I have another event that I have to attend, maybe Council President. And I wanted to, if I can, give him an opportunity to have a few words. Council President.
Thank you. Good morning. I just want to say thank you to the Congressman, thank you to the Senator, thank you to Congressman Sarbanes and everyone that's here today. We often hear me talk about trauma, right? As a young child who grew up in Baltimore and had traumatic events, I know how drastically they changed my life. So now that we know, as we always say, when you know better, you do better. We have to start operating through a lens of trauma, understanding trauma that's happening in our communities, because that's the only way that we're going to cure our city of this disease of gun violence. If we deal with the root causes, and oftentimes that root cause is trauma. So following leadership of the mayor, myself, Councilman Coleman, who's working on an important bill around trauma-informed care in city government right now, we will start to push that fight, and we will continue to do that as long as we're here. So thank you to Congressman Cummings, thank you for everyone for being here.
Thank you very much, Mayor Young. Thank you to the Council President. And I'm now glad to introduce our next speaker, who is another exceptional leader, a true fighter for those he represents, Congressman John Sarbanes.
Thank you. I agree with you. When I get to the testimony we're going to hear today, I want to thank Dr. Lynn for your service to our state, to our city, and to our country. Thank you for moderating this panel today. I want to thank Oscar Manum for giving us this space. This has become a center of the community here in Baltimore, and there's so many events that I've been here for that are lifting up our city. So thank you for hosting us. To my leader in Congress, my chairman, I serve on the Oversight Government Reform Committee. Elijah Cummings is one of the most, you know this, courageous leaders in our country. Not just for his steadfastness in insisting that we do what's right for the soul of our democracy, but because he takes on very tough issues. He's not ever intimidated about speaking truth to power. And he brings people like William Kellebrew and others to help us do that in our committee. So thank you, Chairman Cummings, for convening us today, and to all my colleagues in government and others who are here. Thank you for your participation and advocacy on this really important topic. The testimony we got at that hearing that Congressman Cummings convened in the Oversight Committee was incredibly powerful. And like so many things, until the statistics statistics are assembled in front of you and then brought to life by real people, individuals, you don't necessarily have as deep an understanding of the issue as you should have. We came away from that hearing much more knowledgeable on what faces the country in terms of the number of children who are experiencing this trauma at an early age and what that does to the rest of their lives. And I think determined to try to make a difference in terms of certainly federal policy, but then teaming up with states and localities to have a meaningful response. We can look at measures, I'm sure we'll talk about it today, to try to reduce the incidence of this trauma on the front end. There are so many things structurally we need to do to lift up neighborhoods in places like Baltimore, where the conditions are such that they frankly make these kinds of traumas easier to occur and be inflicted upon young people. But we also have to clearly focus on what the treatment opportunities are, the response to that trauma can be. And I've talked with Congressman Cummings about my particular interest in how we deploy school-based health centers to be part of that response in a comprehensive way. We can do much more to put resources behind that, really make it part of the structural fabric of our schools. And I think it could help us in both identifying things on the front end to avert trauma, but also certainly be there as a response to trauma. And I hope to continue to work on that particular response along with giving consideration to others that will come before our committee and other committees as well. I'll just close with this. Oftentimes it is communities that face the greatest challenges, that are in the greatest pain, that find the most creative and inspired solutions to that pain and those challenges. And we know, because we are Baltimore, that we have the capacity in us to respond in a way that actually not just addresses the challenges we face, but can offer a model for those challenges and how we meet them across the country. That's what Baltimore has to offer, and forums like this are going to help lead the way. So thank you, Congressman.
Thank you very much, Congressman Sarbanes. Now, to close our introductions, I'd like to turn to our host today, Henry Pasco, the President and CEO of Humana. Thank you for hosting.
Good morning, Congressman Cummings. I want to thank you for elevating this conversation, particularly with this astute panel. This is not a new topic. We've been here before. Last night I was reading some studies, looking at some quotes from some kids in the inner city, talking about having to watch their mother die because of not having access to health care, about having to hide under the bed every time there was a gunshot, about having to be entrenched in poverty looking for food. Do you think these were quotes from yesterday, or last week, or last year? They're from 1975. We've been here before. Another study that I was looking at was 18 months ago. It was published, and it talked about the fact that children who's experience severe trauma early in life end up having a very difficult time assessing risk. And that's really important moving forward. Again, that's not new to us. We've been here before. What the study also showed is they followed kids for over a 10-year period using MRIs, getting various tests about risk and reward. There have been changes in the brain. You'll probably hear about that a little bit later. Actual changes in the brain over time that put people in a position of not making good decisions. We've not been there before. That's not a great place today. Again, I want to thank you for hosting this event here in Humana. I want to thank you for having it in this neighborhood where my colleagues on a day-to-day basis see the evidence of adverse childhood experiences, whether we're looking and working with kids in Baltimore high schools, we're now moving to the world of work, replacing people in our social work classes. We see that day to day. again, thank you for elevating the conversation. I just hope that 5, 10 years from now, I'm not sitting here saying, thanks.
Thank you, and thank you again for allowing us to be in your space to host this important conversation, Mr. Husker. So now we are honored to hear from our panelists about treating, healing, and preventing childhood trauma. And I'd like to first welcome Dr. Christina Bethel, who is the Professor of Population Health at Johns Hopkins University and the founding director of the Child and Adolescent Health Measurement Initiative. She is a national leader in addressing and analyzing childhood trauma through data and policy. Dr. Bethel, could you describe the prevalence of adverse childhood experiences and how federal policy can be improved to help to prevent the long-term consequences that can result from childhood trauma?
Absolutely, and thank you for inviting me here today to support your leadership on this important issue. When we think about childhood trauma and symptoms and consequences that we do measure, we know it's highly prevalent. And using Maryland-based, population-based data, it's representative, we're able to estimate that about half of Baltimore City children and youth have experienced one or more of the 9 adverse childhood experiences that are assessed. And this includes witnessing or experiencing violence in home or community, living in homes where alcohol and drug addiction and abuse are present, or where mental health issues are unmanaged and can lead to things like attempted suicide and other events. Also included is loss of a parent or a caregiver through death, incarceration, as well as through discord in the family that leads to divorce or separation. And also we include issues of extreme economic hardship and also being treated often unfairly due to race and ethnicity. So about 30% of Baltimore City children have 2 or more. The density is much higher than nationally or in the state overall. And we know that it's higher in many neighborhoods, of course, that live with a legacy and a density of disadvantage, and also in too many cases now, despair. So what we have is data from Maryland. We don't have it from Baltimore City, but I think it applies here, that children and youth living in households with 200% or lower federal poverty level, which is 30% in Maryland, but 60% in Baltimore, have 75% of Hispanic children in that category experience ACEs, and 60% overall. So we see the highest rates for Hispanic children, but 60% overall. And so that would apply to Baltimore, but maybe even higher because of the cultural and community history and legacy that the city experiences. So we know, and gave some data on how with 2 or more, especially in adverse childhood experiences, we see twice as high complications, emotional and behavioral problems, also difficulty engaging in school and learning, and establishing and maintaining healthy relationships. Learning and relationships we know are the core of early and lifelong health cross-cutting for everyone. And so we really are the medicine that we need by establishing context and culture and systems and supports that allow us to foster engagement, relationships-centered healing approaches. So we're fortunate to live in a time where we have a lot of evidence, as we've talked about. We have models, and yet we need a much more strong federal policy response to lead, invest, support, and translate what we know and our capacity. First, to lead, to call the epidemic of trauma and its reduction. And it's really a syndemic, meaning it's a common factor across a lot of other things we do call up, like the opioid crisis, and this is cross-cutting. But at the same time, to call the opportunity to catalyze an epidemic of well-being, which is possible. So to hopefully put those side by side, and to invest in existing programs and also ways to help programs and sectors lead and support one another. There's an investment in process that's needed there, as well as in research, innovation, and demonstrations to really, really crack the code across the country and make Baltimore City one of those places where we can really lift up the possibility. And
Thank you, Dr. Bethel. And my turn to Ms. Remington, could you explain how the state, including the Council on Child Abuse and Neglect, supports local efforts to combat trauma, as well as how the General Assembly is addressing this issue?
These two
Ms. Remington.
speakers, but if you don't have the direction on it, no, that's fine.
Thank you. Since 2010, the council has focused statewide efforts to prevent and mitigate adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, and promote resilience for achieving the 5 goals of the CDC's Essentials for Childhood Initiative. First, to raise awareness of the ACE science and a commitment to act. Second, to use data to inform decision-making. Third, to create environments for healthy children and families through programs and social norms change. Fourth, to advocate for policies that create the social context for healthy children and families. And finally, to encourage and support the creation of local ACE initiatives. With 25 local education agencies, trainers have presented to 5,500 people, 1,500 here in Baltimore, from librarians and preachers to police chiefs, judges, and business owners. Through the Maryland Essentials for Childhood webpage, funded by No More Stolen Childhoods and our Maryland ACEs Action Blog, we connect, share resources, and promote local efforts. In Annapolis, we're supporting Delegate Atterbury and Senator Hayes to convene a day-long ACE state and county-specific ACE data. And in support of Behavioral Health Systems Baltimore's request for school-level ACE data, include increasing the minimum wage, creating a child medical director for child welfare, and an electronic health passport for foster youth, mandating comprehensive child sexual abuse prevention in schools through screening, training policies, and codes of conduct for all school employees, and establishing a first-in-the-nation work group to make recommendations about trauma-informed decision-making in child custody cases. We've also supported local legislative activities to ban the box and make Baltimore a trauma-responsive city. Finally, we've encouraged the creation of ACE partnerships in Hartford, Midshore, and Southern Maryland, and supported further development of partnerships in Baltimore City, Frederick, and Washington counties. We've achieved all with no dedicated funding, modeling our work on groundbreaking efforts in Washington by the Washington Family Policy Council. With their support, Washington communities have seen incredible reductions in teen pregnancy, arrests, suicide, suspensions, and dropouts, and reductions in domestic violence and infant mortality, saving their state $1.4 billion. Maryland's children and families deserve nothing less from us. Congressman Cummings, thank you for your leadership. We stand ready to work with you to achieve even better results here in Maryland.
Michael Sinclair, who is a professor of social work at Oregon State University. Dr. Sinclair brings over 20 years of experience in the field of social work with clinical experience in schools and departments of correction. His research focuses on youth development, juvenile delinquency, and gangs. Dr. Sinclair, can you describe how poverty and violence traumatize children, and how childhood trauma contributes to the perpetuation of the cycles of violence?
Thank you, Dr. Wayne. First of all, I'd like to thank the Honorable Elijah Cummings for inviting us here. Privileged to be on this august panel. I bring greetings from Dr. David Wilson from Oregon State University, the preeminent urban research institute in Maryland, and from Dean McFadden as the school social worker. That was a very important question you asked me, Dr. Wynn, and first I'd like to clarify. Poverty itself does not cause trauma. Poverty itself does not cause trauma. Research done by John Walton, Whittam, and Kasdan suggests that social factors that are often present in low-income communities that make people more vulnerable to traumatic episodes. Variables such as low education, low income, home instability, and substance abuse are fertile ground for domestic community violence. In a recent study by Kaiser and Watt, erosion of the family often leads to family violence, and in poor, underserved communities, substance abuse becomes the maladaptive coping mechanism that many of our families who are already struggling with mental illness are dealing with. Now, mental illness is still stigmatized in urban communities, as well as access to affordable health care is non-existent. With that being said, urban areas do have a significantly more rates of post-traumatic stress disorder. Rachel and pain use the term post-traumatic cities, like Baltimore, to describe structural inequality, abject poverty that includes industrial decline, urban dispossession, attrition catastrophes that create a phenomenon called chronic urban trauma. Now, with this being said, the quintessential question then becomes, how does childhood trauma actually perpetuate violence in urban communities? Well, with the remaining time that I